Well, I've reviewed almost all of the really expensive cold plunges, so I figured it was time to review one everyone could afford. This is the Coldture Ultra Light Barrel. And in today's video, we're going to set it up and review it and determine if this is the best portable, affordable cold plunge of 2025 or not. Let's jump in. All right, we're just gonna start with unboxing it. Always be careful when using scissors when you're opening an inflatable anything. And a cold plunge is no exception, because right there on top is the lid. So we've got the lid, which I'm excited about this because it is different. From everything I've read and seen, it's totally different. We've got our repair kit. We've got our portable backpack. I didn't know it was gonna come with a backpack. And then our little ball valve. All right, that's it. So we're gonna open up our backpack and see just how easy this thing is to set up. What I like about portable cold plunges is that portability. You can take it with you. If you're going on a trip, you can bring your cold plunge with you. Now, this does not have the chiller included. You can connect a chiller to it. Coldture does have a great chiller you can connect to it. But when you take your chiller with you, remember that is a little heavier. It is additional to this backpack and you will need power. So if you're going camping, it might not be something you're gonna bring with you. But you can bring this, which is really cool. All you have to do, get it where you want it, inflate it, should take a few minutes, and then you're ready to go. Fill it up with water, fill it up with ice. Inside the backpack, we've got our pump, because this is an inflatable cold plunge. What I like about inflatable cold plunges as opposed to the other portable cold plunge that is more of like that tent setup is there's no insulation on those at all. So if you're not using a chiller with those, you're gonna be using a lot of ice and very often. And then wrapped up in all of this is the cold plunge itself. Get this backpack out of the way. It's already got more features than I thought it was gonna come with, so that's cool. It's got connections for the chiller. Let's pump this thing up. Find the hole to inflate it. It's right there. Damn, this thing's it's bigger than I thought it was gonna be. See, this is a Canadian company, so everything listed online is in like Canadian and centimeters and all that fun stuff. So it didn't look like it was gonna be that big, but I've had a lot of people ask me to review this thing. So I figured, what the heck, let's do it. And it looked like it was gonna be kind of small online, so I'm excited to do this review. I think this will help a lot of people. Oh dear. We just put it in there, and then we pump it up. We're almost there already. Holy smokes, this is the quickest one I've ever pumped up. That's for sure. That is much bigger than I thought it was gonna be. Got the tub pumped up. Now let's pump up this lid. I also didn't know the lid was gonna be inflatable. What I like about that too is that's gonna add a layer of insulation onto the lid. I also noticed it has skirts that go down the side, which will do a much better job than current lids at keeping bugs, debris, and really just letting out the cold air that's going to help insulate and keep your water cold. So if you're looking to get into cold plunging and you want to get something that's kind of entry level, but is going to give you a much better experience than some of the other cheaper ones that are on the market, so far I'm pretty impressed with it. Let's go ahead and pump up this lid, get it all set up, and then we'll talk about it. There we go. Screw this back on. Well, that's the setup. It took me seconds. So there's the lid. Beautiful. Now it has the skirt, which I probably should have peeled down. No, it's fine. It's one of the first times I've seen a skirt on a cold plunge lid. And I gotta say, I love it. Good touch, Coldture, because what a lot of people don't realize, and maybe anybody watching this, if you have realized this, let me know in the comments below. Make sure I'm not the only one. Is on a lot of the inflatables particularly, most of them don't have this skirt, so you're pretty much just putting a lid on top, which is great, but there's always a gap that, I don't know, frogs, bugs, debris, things can get into if you don't really use the strap and latch it down. But what that also does is it lets a little air gap out, and if you're using ice, which a lot of people who are just getting started are probably gonna use ice, and if you're using ice, having that little air gap allows that cold air from the water to escape and allows warm air to get in, especially during the summer and when it's warmer out. So having this is a really cool touch. Let's see how hard it is to put on though. So you kind of have to line up your straps. It definitely adds like a little extra work. Yeah, just like that. I didn't line up my straps at all. But the cool thing is I don't really need to strap it down now, because now the skirt is sealing the entire cold plunge. Okay, we got it set up. That took seconds. I do think that of all the portables I've ever used and reviewed, this is one of the most unique. It's the first one like this that I've actually reviewed, and there's some things about it that I love immediately that make me excited to actually use this thing when we go on trips. So let's talk about some of the specifications. So this thing currently costs $312 when you use discount discount code MOSS, $312 American. That does give you a little bit of a discount when you use discount code MOSS, and there's a link in the description if you decide to get one of these by the end of this review. I like that it comes with a pump, it comes with a backpack, it comes with a strap to pull everything in when you put it in the backpack, it comes with a lid, and it is insulated. There's a lot of cold plunge options out there, and so many of them are around that $100 to $200 mark. This one is a little bit more than a lot of the cheaper ones, but I will tell you, I've reviewed so many of them, and the cheaper ones are legitimately just cheaper ones. I've ended up giving them all away, and so many people end up throwing them away. So if you're somebody watching this video and you're just trying to get into cold plunging, you're just getting started, obviously everyone has a budget, so you do what is best for you, and anything is better than nothing. However, with that being said, for just a little bit more, I could see this one lasting a lot longer. Plus, this comes with a 3-year warranty, which is pretty awesome to see on this style of cold plunge. A few other things I like is it is super lightweight. It takes up a very small footprint, but on the backside here, we've got connections that we can quickly and easily connect this to a chiller. So if you do decide to get this and get started with ice, you can always transition over to a chiller if you want to, and you don't have to buy an additional tub. The chiller is typically the most expensive part of every cold plunge because it keeps your water continuously cold. The fact that you can use this with ice, but you can also graduate and use a chiller if you want to is really cool. And one of the biggest differences I see is this lid. I know I've probably talked about it a little bit too much and I'm beating it into you, but this is unique to see this skirt. It is tight, so it does take a little bit of effort to get it on, and it's probably gonna take a little bit of effort to get it off, but I would rather have that than have every single time I wanna get into my cold plunge have some sort of animal in there or lose all my cold water. So having that thermal tech drop stitching, a little bit of insulation around the entire thing, including the lid and the skirt, this will hold your water temperature a lot longer than a lot of its competitors. Now, all that's great, but how big is this thing? Let's actually measure it, and I'm gonna get in it for reference. Okay, so when I was looking online, it looked like it was gonna be really small, but now that I have it set up here, it is small. It takes up a really small footprint, but inside it actually looks much larger than I thought. Let's go ahead and measure it though. So outside wise, I'm gonna use inches. Holy smokes. It's 34 inches wide and it's a perfect circle. On the inside, because there is a little bit of insulation here, the inside's 30 inches. For those of you who are like, what the heck's 30 inches? 2 feet, 6 inches. That's pretty wide. Now let's measure it to the bottom. So from the bottom to the top, you have 30 inches, but there is a max line here, and that's at about 19 inches from the bottom. Okay, so it takes up a very small footprint, but it's pretty large inside. I'm gonna go ahead and get in it and actually see how big it feels for a guy like me. Just for reference, I'm 6'1", 215 pounds right now. So let's get in this thing. All right, so it's like the perfect height where it's not too high. You don't need like a stool to get in, but holy smokes. Dude, this is actually impressive. All right, so when you're sitting inside anything round like this, and I've reviewed a lot of them, obviously you're gonna have to sit with your legs crossed. There's no real way around that. I reviewed a lot of the barrel style cold plunges that are smaller and take up a small footprint, and most of them are either really cheap and really cheaply built, or a little more expensive. I don't think I've reviewed anything that's around this price range that's actually this big. This is a really well built barrel style cold plunge, and for me, I'm 6'1". Like, I mean, if the water rose to the top here, it would be at my eyes. Everything's gonna be underwater. I could dunk in this thing pretty easily. I mean, like, there's no bench or anything inside it, so like I could get underwater. However, you don't have to always dunk. I think a lot of people think they have to get fully underwater to experience a cold plunge. Most people actually cold plunge with their arms out of the cold plunge. So don't buy something just based on if you can dunk or not. I do a lot of that demo in every review that I do, but you don't absolutely have to dunk your head for you to experience the benefits of cold water therapy. And you're definitely more than likely not gonna be staying underwater for a long period of time. So this would be a really good size for a guy my size. Now online it does say that it's rated for people up to 6'8". I could see people 6'8" getting into this thing. I think that if you're 6'1", 215 pounds like me, this would be a very comfortable cold plunge. If you're any bigger than my size, which is 6'1", 215 pounds, it might get a little bit snug. Are you gonna be able to enjoy it and use it? Absolutely. Are you gonna be able to get a majority of your body in the water? I would say so. But if you are a much larger person, there's probably some much larger options you might want to consider. So there's a few concerns that I do have. One, when I first opened it up, I'm like, okay, there's 2 open holes on the backside here. So if I do want to use this with ice, which it says you can do that online, am I gonna have to figure out how to plug those holes up? Well, so I started doing some poking around and I opened up my repair kit. That's where I found them. So inside the repair kit, I had a few different random things, but this is what I'm talking about. This is the cap. There's actually 2 of these. Both caps are inside the repair kit. There's also, it's a repair kit. So if you ever did did get a cut in this or a hole in this, you could repair it. But these two caps will just screw right into both of those holes, and that will keep the water from draining, obviously, so you could fill it up with water, put some ice in there, and create your own portable cold plunge. But another piece that came with it was this little ball joint. Now this is gonna go into that bottom hole, and what you can use this for as a portable cold plunge is you'll shut the valve, and that'll keep the water from going through. And then when you want to drain this thing, all you do is open up that valve. That's going to let the water come out. So when you do want to drain this, you don't have to fool around or worry about losing that cap, especially if you take this somewhere that you're a little bit off the grid. This will make it a little bit easier for you to control, obviously not losing that cap and still being able to drain your cold plunge. I also love that it's super lightweight and super easy to move. That's the benefit to having something like this, is it's very durable. You could pick it up, you could slam it down. A lot of the cold plunges in the same category, unfortunately you can't do that because you have those sticks, and those sticks need to be set down in a nice stable ground, on nice stable ground. This, you could also put it in some rocks or anything like that. There's just some additional benefits to having an inflatable like this. It's a little more structured. So now let's recap and talk about if this is really a cold plunge you should consider or not, and what makes it, in my opinion, one of the best portable cold plunges of 2025 that I've seen. Number one, it's inflatable and portable. Setup took a few seconds. You literally unbox it and inflate it. You could take it anywhere. It has a backpack. You could take it on trips with you. It won't take up a lot of space, and it's very lightweight. You set it where you want it, you inflate it, and then you fill it with water. Setup was super duper simple. You don't have to worry about losing or breaking those plastic stilts that go inside it because the entire thing is thermal stitched and inflatable. It has a unique tight fit lid. Now, the lid is gonna take a little bit of extra effort to pull that skirt down and make sure that it's sealed nice and tight, but I think that's effort well worth it if you plan on using this for a couple days at a time, especially if you're using this with ice. And if you are gonna use a chiller, that just makes the chiller have to work a little bit less. The entire cold plunge has 5 centimeters of insulation using something they're calling thermal tech. So it should help keep your water even colder. I don't know, I felt like I should make this video. I felt like I should review this product because it is more affordable, and there's a lot of people out there that just can't, or they're not willing to spend thousands of dollars to get cold. So if you're someone watching this video and you're considering getting into cold plunging this year, just know there's a lot of options out there. And if you're gonna spend $100 to $200 on a cold tub, somewhere where you can start getting cold, I really would say, after reviewing all of them, I would probably have to recommend spending a little bit more and getting something like this. I feel like it's gonna last you a lot longer. It does have a 3-year warranty, which is cool. The guys over at Coldture, the team over there, are really trying to innovate. They're creating really cool products, which is awesome. But more importantly, I want you to have an enjoyable experience. And if you purchase something that's $100 and your first couple experiences getting cold aren't great, and you're having to spend a ton of money on ice, I don't know, I feel like if your first couple experiences aren't great, then you're probably not gonna keep doing it. I've reviewed a lot of cold plunges, and most of them are pretty expensive. Most of them have chillers, and they have all these unique, crazy designs, and they're thousands of dollars. And I realize that there's a lot of people out there that haven't cold plunged yet, and they're not gonna just jump in and spend thousands of dollars on something. I mean, shoot, even myself, I started out as a DIY cold plunge guy. I built my own DIY cold plunge, and there was nothing like this available at the time. If there was, this is what I would start with. I would get this, I would build my own little DIY setup or get a good quality chiller if I could afford it, but I would probably more than likely start with something like this and start just using ice. That's how I started. I had a galvanized horse trough, which was still $150 at Tractor Supply. It was still cost some money, and I started using ice. But here in Florida, ice in a galvanized trough outside did not last long at all, and there was no lid. It was a horrible mess. And then I built my own DIY cold plunge with a chiller and all that stuff, still used the galvanized trough. Nothing like this existed. If this existed, this is what I would get. I love the fact that it has this super tight sealed lid. I don't have it on currently, but I love that it has that. I love that it will keep the bugs, the debris, the things that I know are gonna get into your cold plunge out. It's one of the more unique designs that I've seen. It has the child safety latches too. Not that a kid's gonna be able to take that lid off very easily. And I like that it's insulated. So if you are using ice, it's gonna keep your water colder longer than an uninsulated option. And there's a lot of options out there, but I would say after looking at this and after reviewing them all, this is probably my top pick. But if I had to pick one portable cold plunge to say this is what I would consider to be the best portable cold plunge in the affordable range under $500, this would be it. I wouldn't buy that crappy one from Costco. You can't ever add a chiller to it. There's a lot of other options out there. I've even reviewed some of them that are, hey, like, it's better than I thought it was gonna be, but this didn't even exist. I didn't know this existed. This is a really good option for you. So that's my opinion. Obviously, it doesn't always matter what my opinion is. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Follow me on Instagram. Make sure you like, subscribe, and all that stuff. And if you do decide you wanna get one, the link is down in the description below. Discount code MOSS will save you additional money, and it is exclusive to you for watching this video. So make sure you use that if you do decide to purchase this. I appreciate you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video, my friends. Have a great day, and God bless.